Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Emily Kuzmick. I do Emily Kuzmick Yoga. You can find me on Instagram at mkuz, E-M-K-U-Z yoga. I am a 200-hour registered yoga instructor, and Erie Metro Parks asked me to participate in their Get Fit Club to offer some virtual yoga to you all. So hopefully in this continued virtual state, you are able to get away from the screen in a productive way and come to your mat and move and kind of make friends with technology and get to know yourself a little bit better through the practice of yoga. So whether you're a practiced yogi or if you've never done yoga before, this is an all levels practice. So you should be able to make it your own, modify to your own body's needs. If you'd like to power it up, if you'd like to take it down a notch, completely up to you. But we will begin laying completely back in kind of a pre-shavasana resting pose. So go ahead and come to your mat or floor or wherever you're practicing, all the way back on your mat. And your hands can either be face down on your belly or face up to your sides. If your hands are face up, that's a little bit more energizing. So perhaps if you're practicing in the morning and you're looking to move the body before you begin your day, you want the hands face up. Or maybe this year in general has been very overwhelming for you. So having the hands face down is more grounding, more calming. So taking a couple of moments to tap into the body and see what you might need today. Feeling the belly rise at an inhale. Pausing at the height of that inhale. And then exhaling, feeling the navel fall towards your spine. And continuing to breathe. Feeling the belly rise and fall. And attempting to draw that awareness to the breath. If any other thoughts come into your brain, gently acknowledge them and let them fall away, bringing the focus back to the breath. And we'll take 2 more deep breaths here before we bring movement to the body. And on your last breath, setting some kind of intention for your practice. So whether that's to remain completely focused or something more complex that you would like to take with you off of your mat. Maybe giving yourself a little bit more grace during this challenging year. Prioritizing movement or prioritizing rest. Whatever speaks to you. And when you're ready on your next inhale, go ahead and bring the knees into the chest. And you can hug the knees in, maybe roll into a ball and go from side to side. When you're ready, go ahead and leave the knees bent. Bring your arms out in a T, palms facing down, and on your exhale, bring the knees over to the right. Before they hit the floor, go ahead and inhale them up and exhale them over to the left. Before they hit the floor, using that low belly strength, inhaling them up and exhaling them over to the right. One last time, inhaling up, exhale over to the left, and then go ahead and let them fall all the way over to the left. You can take that left hand and anchor down that right knee, either with eyes closed or a soft gaze, looking over those right fingertips. So we're in kind of this half supine twist. Bring the awareness back back into the breath. Even in these twisted positions, we can feel the belly rise and fall. One last breath. Very good. And then on your inhale, bring the knees up, and then exhaling them over, giving yourself that space. When you're ready, beginning to draw awareness back into the breath. And perhaps simply by drawing that awareness in, you'll feel the breath begin to deepen. Belly rising on an inhale, navel falling on an exhale. Now that we've brought awareness back into the breath, we can bring it back into the body. So gently beginning to wiggle fingers and toes. Roll out wrists and ankles. Maybe waking up the legs. Bopping out the knees gently. And letting the head drift from side to side, waking up those tiny muscles in the neck and behind the ears. And inhaling the knees into your chest, similar to how we begun. Rocking back and forth on the low back. And in whatever way you know how. If you'd like to come to one side, or just gently press yourself up to a comfortable seat. And we'll find our way back on our mat, similar to how we began. And inhale, roll the shoulders up towards the ears, and exhale them down the spine, leaving them there. Reminding the heart to remain open, both figuratively as well as physically. And placing the hands to your heart center. Take a great big inhale of gratitude for your practice today. And then exhale, hinging at the hips to fold forward. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you'd like to see other virtual programming, Erie Metro Parks is doing this Get Fit series, and there's going to be more yoga videos coming out there. Once again, if you'd like to see more of my classes personally, you could find me on social media at mkuzyoga, E-M-K-U-Z yoga. I offer personal classes. I sub right now at a studio, Soul Stretch Westlake, also in my Instagram profile. And I do special brewery events, bottoms up yoga. So all of that is in my social media if you're interested. Otherwise, if you get a hold of Erie Metro Parks, I'm sure you could get connected with me. Be sure to check out all of their programming as well. And I hope you guys have a relaxing, energetic, and positive day ahead. Thank you. Inhaling for height. Exhale to twist. Inhaling back to center here, looking up, maybe we find that back bend. And then exhale over to the left. Same idea, we'll inhale. And then exhale, wringing out the low belly, looking back over that shoulder. Inhaling the arms back overhead. And then exhale, folding forward, hinging in the hips. So rather than rounding in the shoulders, we want to reach forward as though a string is being pulled through our heart center. And wherever your hands land is perfect. If this is as far as your hips allow, let this be where you're at. If with each exhale, you find that you're able to sink a little bit deeper, then follow that, moving with the breath, inhaling for length, and exhaling to soften towards the earth. One last breath, and then exhale. Go ahead and drop the head completely. You can let the forehead rest on the earth, massage it side to side. And on your next inhale, walking the hands gently back up towards the hips, and walk them about one hand's distance behind the hips, planting them down, fingers facing towards the hips. And inhale, lifting up. If you'd like to create a shelf with your shoulders and let the head drift back, you can do so. One last inhale, really reaching up here. And then exhale, hips come down. Go ahead and roll over onto hands and knees here into a tabletop position. So we'll take a moment to really set up our tabletop, wrists directly below the shoulders, knees directly below the hips, spreading all 10 fingers wide, and we want that low belly, that band of muscle from hip to hip to be nice and engaged here. So we'll inhale. We feel the belly rise, but we're engaged, and then exhale, feel the navel come up this time towards the spine. And on your next inhale, coming into a cow. So we lift the chin and the tailbone, we let the belly sink. On the exhale, we arch the spine, navel to spine into a cat. Inhaling into your cow. And exhaling into your cat. And we'll do this one more time. If it helps to close the eyes and feel into the body. Eventually go ahead and inhale a neutral spine. And from here, we'll go ahead and shift the weight over that right knee, bringing that left leg up. And go ahead and just hang out here for a second, engaging that low belly, finding your balance, and then rolling out that back left ankle from side to side. Our ankles support us obviously a lot throughout the day, and it's really important to do intentional movement, stretching out those muscles. Make sure we're giving them a little bit of attention and care. On the exhale, drifting that foot all the way across, and then looking over your right shoulder, pressing into your mat, and looking here. Inhaling that leg back, and keeping it lifted, and this is your option if you want to power up and maybe bend the knee and pulse. Or you could just leave that leg long and straight, and then you'll go ahead and lift that opposite leg. So lift, or arm, lifting that right arm and finding your balance. And you have the option to either stay here or engaging that low belly on an exhale, crunching the knee into the elbow. Inhaling to extend. Exhale, crunching in. Inhale to extend. Last one, exhale, crunching in. We'll hold it here for one breath. Maybe lift that knee a little bit higher. And then inhale to extend. Exhale, plant that hand. I'm gonna pivot, but you guys can stay where you're at. You'll go ahead and let that left leg come out to your side. Toes facing forward. So you'll be kind of straddling your mat here, and you'll inhale the arms up to a T, flipping that right palm up, and then exhale, side bend over that extended left leg. Inhaling up for length, and then exhale, side bend. Maybe that hand drifts down that extended left leg. Go ahead and inhale back up. Drop that right hand for a counter stretch. Lifting that left hand, looking up at those left fingers. Very good. One last breath here. And then you go ahead and inhale back up into a T. Exhale, planting the hands, finding your tabletop once more. We'll go ahead and reset with one set of cat and cow. Inhaling into your cow, exhaling into your cat. And this time we'll shift the weight over that left knee. Powering up, and then we'll lift that right leg. And for now, just checking in with that band of muscles from hip to hip. Beginning to roll out that back ankle. Gaze is in between the hands. Then go ahead and come into stillness. Let that foot drift over to the left, looking over that left shoulder. And pressing firmly into your mat. Go ahead and twist on the exhale. On your next inhale, bringing that leg back out. Option to pulse or power up here, or leave it extended as is. And then lifting that alternate arm, that left arm. We'll exhale, crunch the knee into the elbow. Inhale to extend. Exhale to crunch, arching the spine. Inhale to extend. One last time. Exhale to crunch. Maybe we lift that knee up a little bit higher. Very good. Inhale to extend. Exhale, I'll pivot. You guys don't have to. Letting that right leg come out to the side. Inhale up to a T. Flipping that left palm up and extending over. Inhaling for length and exhale, maybe we sink a little bit lower. One last breath. And then go ahead and counter that stretch, planting that left hand and letting that right hand fly. Very good. Go ahead and inhale back into a T. Exhale into your tabletop position. And then let the feet come together, knees apart, and we'll sink back into a child's pose. So you'll let the hips come down towards the earth. Inhale, walking those fingertips out towards the top of your mat. And on the exhale, letting that chest, chin, or forehead really sink towards your mat. And this is a great place to come back to at any time, either throughout your practice or throughout your day, coming into a child's pose to touch base with yourself, that inner knowing that you have. Reminding yourself of that intention that you set at the beginning of your practice. And on your next inhale, walking the fingertips over to the upper right-hand corner of your mat. Letting that left hand stack on top of the right, and on the exhale, sending that left armpit towards your mat. Really extending through the shoulder latch. And go ahead and inhale back to center. Take one exhale here. Before inhaling to the upper left-hand corner, letting that right hand stack. And exhale, sending that right shoulder down towards the earth. One last breath. Go ahead and inhale back to center. And on our exhale, we're gonna go ahead and tuck the toes under, letting the hips come up into a downward dog. So first, downward dog of the practice, and everybody's downward dog looks different. So you can keep your knees bent. You can walk your feet closer to your hands or further away. But the main idea here is that we really want to send our chest towards the tops of the thighs. We want to keep integrity in the spine and the shoulders. So again, if your heels don't quite come down, that's okay. Keep a bend in the knees, so long as we're keeping that integrity in the spine. Inhale, we press through all 10 fingers on the exhale, sending that chest back, and the gaze is either between the ankles, between the knees, or even towards the navel. So depending on how you would like to originate your body, to make sure that you're getting the most out of each and every posture. And we'll take one last breath here. On the exhale, bending the knees to look forward. Inhale, just stepping to the top of your mat. and finding what we call a halfway lift. So we'll halfway lift up here. Hands can come to the shins or the tops of the thighs. Shoulders back. And then exhale, a slight bend in the knees to forward fold. You can let the head hang completely. When you're ready, one vertebrae at a time, rolling all the way up to a standing position. Finally making our way standing on our mats. And then we'll go ahead and let the hands face palms open towards the front of your mat. Breathing here. Check in with the toes and lift all 10 toes off of your mat. So all 4 corners of each foot are grounded. And on the exhale, gently lay those toes back down. And checking in, this is our mountain pose, Tadasana. So we should be very strong here. If someone were to come and press up on your hands, they'd have a job pushing you over. So you want to be very engaged in your legs, hip to hip, the core, and breathing here. On our next inhale, those arms are going to come up overhead. Letting that right hand grab the left wrist, we'll side bend over to the right. Inhale, looking up past that left armpit. And exhale over a little bit farther. Inhaling up. Exhale, opposite hand grabs opposite wrist, side bend over to the left. Inhale, peeling away, looking up. Exhale, side bend. Inhale, back to center, maybe a slight back bend. And then exhale, swan dive to forward fold. And we'll run through a sun salutation. So inhaling a halfway lift, maybe the hands graduated to the tops of the shins. Exhale, plant the hands, step or hop back to a high plank. So you can either have the knees off the ground here or on your mat. Same muscle groups are working. And checking in with the wrists, making sure they're stacked directly below the shoulders. Exhale, bend the elbows straight back just to where you feel strong. So you might just bend here, here, or lower before we scoop up into either a cobra, or if you come up on the tops of the feet, an upward facing dog. Gazes up in between the brows. And then exhale, sending the hips back into that downward dog. You can pedal out the knees here, bending one and then the other. And we'll just breathe. We'll have 2 more breaths in your downward dog. You're always welcome to come into child's pose. If you feel your body and mind would appreciate that. And on your next exhale, bend the knees, look forward, step, walk, or hop into that halfway lift. Tailbone is shooting back. Exhale to hinge and fold. This time rising up with strength, inhaling all the way up. Maybe a slight back bend, and same as before. Letting that right hand grab the left wrist, side bend for 1 breath over to the right. Inhaling up. Exhale, side bend over to the left. Inhaling up. Exhale, hands to heart center. And we'll take a breath here, checking in with the body, checking in with that intention. And if at any point you need to take a break or get some water, always honoring the body and doing so. From here, we'll go ahead and grab onto the hips and have the feet come maybe a teeny bit further than hips width distance apart. So holding the hips here, we'll inhale a back bend, and then exhale, hinging at the hips to fold forward. You can go ahead and let the hands go. Wherever your hands land, that's going to depend on your own body's flexibility. If you are able to bend the knees and get the peace fingers around the big toes, you can do so. And see if you can straighten into that halfway lift sensation. Pulling here. And on the exhale, bending the elbows out to the side. Letting that chest come towards Tops of your thighs. You can let the head drop and look all the way back behind you. On an inhale, finding that halfway lift. If it's possible to send the hands underneath your feet, and you could kind of massage the wrists with the toes. Same idea, exhale, bending those elbows out to the side like little wings. And sending that chest through the legs. Bending the feet, shooting back through the tailbone, getting a great hamstring stretch. At least that's where I feel this the most. And one last breath. Inhale, releasing, hands come back to the hips. Inhaling, a slight back bend. Exhaling, back to neutral. Bring those feet back together. We'll run through one sun salutation again before we end up back on our mat. So stepping to the top of your mat, you'll inhale that back bend. We'll really make this one count. Exhale, swan dive forward, hinging at the hips. Inhale, halfway lift. Perhaps we've graduated now, fingertips on your mat. Exhale, plant the hands, jump or hop back or walk back into your plank. Exhale, lowering down just to where you feel strong before scooping up into a cobra or upward dog. Exhaling back into your downward dog. And we'll take 2 breaths here. Pedaling out the knees again if your hips really need it. Last breath. And then on your inhale, letting that right leg come up towards the sky in a 3-legged dog. And we'll keep the hips squared to begin with. So that means our leg may not come quite as high, but our hips are in alignment. So we're getting that great stretch in the back of that left shin. I guess that would be the calf or the hamstring. And then on the exhale, go ahead and flip open, stacking the hips, bending that top right knee. You can look under that right armpit. And rolling out that ankle from side to side. If flipping the dog is in your practice, you can go ahead and completely flip open here. If you see that and you're like, that is for the birds, then go back. Just simply bending your knee, rolling out your ankle. And then squaring the hips once more. We'll exhale, bring the knee forward. Stepping that foot up, dropping that back left knee. So we're in a low lunge with that right foot in front. And just taking a moment to set up here. Check to see that front right knee is stacked directly over that ankle. And then we'll do a couple of variations here. First, we'll bring the hands to the hips. And really check in. We want that band of muscle nice and solidified and engaged. But we also want to be breathing into that inner left hip, opening up. We don't want to send that right knee too far forward, so we got a lot going on here. But with that core engaged, what that is doing is we're protecting our low back, right? And so if we get really lazy in the belly, we tend to collapse in the low back. So we want to make sure we're nice and engaged, getting a great stretch in here. And it's up to you if you'd like to stay here or bring the hands up to the knee or bring the hands up to the sky, looking up in between them. And we'll breathe here. Exhaling, go ahead and bring the hands down. If you have blocks here, this would be great. We're gonna go ahead and stretch out into a runner's stretch. So we'll go ahead and let those right toes flip up towards the sky, walking the hands back and shooting that right hip back. Inhaling for length, that halfway lift sensation. And then exhale, sending the chest towards that extended leg. Inhale, opening up, making sure we're not rounding the shoulders. And exhaling here, bowing over that extended leg. If you have tight hamstrings like me, you're gonna really feel this, but cue the kneecap to soften. Cue that jaw to soften anywhere in the body that might be holding tension where we don't necessarily need to be. And last breath here. Go ahead and inhale, walking back up into that low lunge. Maybe one last stretch before we plant the hands. We'll pop that back knee off the ground, coming back into a plank, and we can what we call chaturanga here. So bending the elbows, lowering down, inhaling upward dog, exhaling back downward dog. We'll take a couple breaths here. You're always welcome to come into a child's pose. You need a little bit of a break, feeling into the body. Eventually coming back into your downward dog if you're not already there, and we'll have to do the other side so we're not walking in circles, right? So inhaling that left leg up this time, keeping the hips squared and breathing into that standing right leg. Inhale, pressing the chest towards the top of that standing thigh. And then on the exhale, bending the knee, looking underneath that left armpit, rolling out that left ankle from side to side. And once again, if you have flipping the dog in your practice, you can do so, really stretching out and lifting the hips. And eventually we'll come back to our three-legged dog with the hips squared. And on the exhale, bending that left knee and bringing the foot all the way forward, up in between the hands. Setting up for your low lunge. Making sure the belly is engaged. Hands can either be at the hips or on top of the knee or up to your side. Breathing here, getting a nice stretch in that right hip. One last breath. And on your next exhale, we're going to go ahead and plant the hands. Walk them back. If you have blocks or textbooks or anything here, this could be helpful to come up. So you don't need to be all the way down in your palms. If you're up on your fingertips or some blocks, that can be really helpful. Inhaling, lifting here. And then exhale, we'll shoot that left hip bone back. And sending the chest over that extended leg. Keeping that foot flexed. One last breath. Go ahead and let the head bow completely here, stretching it out. And when you're ready, go ahead and inhale back up, finding your low lunge. One last breath there. And then exhale, cartwheel the hands down to frame the foot, shooting that foot back into your high plank. And slowly and with control, knees up or down. Go ahead and lower all the way down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and lay flat on your belly. Forehead can come to the backs of your hands as you stack them. And massage the head side to side. And give yourself a moment. Letting the heart rate return back to normal. Bringing awareness back into the breath. And when you're ready, we'll go ahead and lift up into a Sphinx pose. So we'll have our elbows directly beside our breastbones. So we'll have them stacked here, fingertips facing forward, palms face down. And then inhaling, engaging the low belly to peel up off the earth here. If you need to come down a little bit because you have low back issues, that's perfectly fine. But we really want the engagement to be in the forearms, the shoulders, and the belly, not in the low back, right? So maybe that gaze is just at the tip of your mat. We want to keep that cervical spine, the top of the neck in alignment. And then go ahead and lower here. And you can either do that one more time, or you can walk your hands out and do an extended Sphinx. So coming up onto the fingertips, really using that belly. You get a nice abdominal stretch here. Breathing, maybe lift. And then exhale, coming all the way down. Very nice. And we'll do one more shoulder stretch while we're on our bellies before flipping back over. So this one's a little bit tricky to explain, but it feels amazing once you're into it. So you'll extend that right hand all the way out to the side in a half T. Planting that left hand next to your breastbone. Your legs are extended, right? All the way in your belly. Pressing into the earth with that left hand, you're gonna roll over that right hip. And lay that head down. It's really important. If you can't relax the upper body here, maybe come out of the pose a little bit. But laying that head down allows for that inner right shoulder to really get a stretch. You can either stay here or begin to bend that left knee, that top knee, and place it on the outside on the floor, right? The outside of those legs. And continue to press into the earth. If you do this and it's way too intense, please come back to straight legs. If you're doing this and you think you could use a little bit more of a stretch, you are welcome to bend both knees and really let gravity do the work. Opening up that inner shoulder and in between the shoulder blades where we're all very, very tight, especially right now. Working from home, hunched over computers or cars, whatever we're doing, driving, picking up children. Just overall stress, we hold it in our shoulders. There's an old yogi saying that says something along the lines of, the pose doesn't begin until you want to get out of it. So hanging out a little bit longer than is comfortable. We never want pain, but mild discomfort is a part of life, as I'm sure we've all been aware. And we'll take one last breath here. You can go ahead and gently begin to unwind. If your legs are bent, slowly straightening them, rolling back onto the belly. Take a moment here. Touch base with yourself. Notice the difference between the two sides of the body. What feels more open? What feels more tight? And when you're ready, letting that left leg or left arm, my arms and legs are confused today, extend alongside you, pressing into the mat with that right hand, and let the head come down. Yogi's choice, you can either leave the legs straight here or start to bend that right knee and plant it on the outside. If you'd like more of a stretch, you're welcome to bend both knees and plant both feet to the earth. And same idea, you want to breathe into this posture. And we'll take a couple of breaths here. And we're entering the yin part of the practice where we like to hold postures, right? It's more about breathing and holding rather than moving. And last breath. And on your next inhale, slowly straightening the legs if they aren't already. And exhale, rolling back onto the belly, pressing up, coming onto the knees, and then all the way onto your back. So laying back here. And we're gonna go ahead and come into a figure 4 stretch just before Shavasana, making sure we're getting our hips nice and open. So we worked on the shoulders, but the hips hold the most tension in the body, the most emotional stress. And something I learned recently is that the hip flexors are the first muscle to respond, the psoas, in flight or fight. So that is why we hold so much emotional stress here. We want to make sure that we're opening our hips just like our shoulders. So you're going to go ahead and plant that left foot, bringing that right ankle just above that left knee. And this is another posture where it's very important that we keep our upper body flat against the earth. If this is more than enough for you, you can go ahead and hang out here. You can begin to walk that left heel closer to your hips. Or go ahead and lift the legs. And multiple options. You can either take that right hand on the outside of that right knee, left hand on the inside of that left thigh, or outside rather. You can hold on to pant legs. You can come over top and interlace the fingers over the knee, or you can send that right hand through that space and interlace the fingers behind that thigh over the hamstring. With each inhale, maybe we apply slight pressure, bringing the legs a little bit closer to the chest, and you'll feel a great stretch on that outer right hip. Breathing here. And we'll take one last breath, checking in with the body, make sure that the shoulders are soft, that the teeth are separated, the forehead's not furrowed. And when you're ready, gently begin releasing, letting that foot meet the earth, uncrossing the legs. And we'll windshield wiper the knees back and forth. Once again, noticing the difference between your two sides. And when you're ready, opposite side. So keeping those shoulders and head flat against your mat. Crossing that left ankle just above the right knee. Either staying here or walking that right heel closer to your hips. If you're ready for more of a stretch, lifting that leg up in whichever variation, holding the pant legs, interlacing over the knee or interlacing behind the thigh. And you can use that opposite arm to apply pressure to that left leg. And you should be feeling a great stretch on that outer left hip. If you'd like to rock around side to side, take whatever variation or modification that you'd like. You're most likely at home or the comfort of someone's home or a workplace. If you could find a wall and press that right foot into the wall, that is also a great assist. And one last breath. And on your exhale, slowly releasing the posture, we'll windshield wiper the legs once more. And I always offer this at the end of my classes just because that's my personality type. And maybe it's yours as well. If you'd like to take any other postures that we didn't get to, maybe legs up the wall or a candlestick. If you'd like happy baby, you can go ahead and grab onto the ankles outside of the feet or peace fingers to big toes and rock side to side. Take whatever it is your body is craving. I'm really craving an inner hip opener again since we just did outer hip openers. So And we'll take 3 more breaths with Yogi's Choice, whichever posture you like to find before we come into our final resting place of Shavasana for the practice. And last breath. Go ahead and let the legs come long. Arms are also long beside the body. Hands either facing up or down. And we'll meet in Shavasana, which literally translates to corpse pose. Not because we look like dead people, but because it signifies the death of the practice, right? So we're letting everything sink in and we're letting everything go because we've done our work for the practice. And it's our chance to meditate and open up to all of the experiences we've had either in practice or in life. So you can start with the top of your head. What would it feel like if the hair follicles were to soften? Traveling down to the forehead, the brow unfurrows. Letting the eyes be heavy in their sockets. Letting the teeth separate and the jaw relax. Ears soften as well. Tiny muscles in the neck soften and release. Shoulders are falling away from one another and the heart is open. And we'll travel down the arms, upper arms, eyes at the elbows, forearms and wrists. Hold no tension. And the whole of each hand from the base of the palm to the tip of each fingertip softens and releases. Moving down to the belly. Belly is soft. It's done its work for the practice. And the sacrum or low back is connected to the earth, or wherever you're taking Shavasana. Top of each leg, kneecaps, shins spiraling around to the calves, soften and release as well. And every single part from the ankle to the base of the heel to the arch to the tips of all 10 toes melt away. And you're giving yourself a chance to rest and receive and release. Taking this opportunity to tune back into your intention, whatever it was you set. Maybe it was just simple gratitude for letting yourself practice today, giving yourself that space. When you're ready, beginning to draw awareness back into the breath. And perhaps simply by drawing that awareness in, you'll feel the breath begin to deepen. Belly rising on an inhale, navel falling on an exhale. Now that we've brought awareness back into the breath, we can bring it back into the body. So gently beginning to wiggle fingers and toes. Roll out wrists and ankles. Maybe waking up the legs. Bopping out the knees gently. And letting the head drift from side to side, waking up those tiny muscles in the neck and behind the ears. And inhaling the knees into your chest, similar to how we begun. Rocking back and forth on the low back. And in whatever way you know how. If you'd like to come to one side, or just gently press yourself up to a comfortable seat. And we'll find our way back on our mat, similar to how we began. And inhale, roll the shoulders up towards the ears, and exhale them down the spine, leaving them there. Reminding the heart to remain open, both figuratively as well as physically. And placing the hands to your heart center. Take a great big inhale of gratitude for your practice today. And then exhale, hinging at the hips to fold forward. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you'd like to see other virtual programming, Yuri Metro Parks is doing this Get Fit series, and there's going to be more yoga videos coming out there. Once again, if you'd like to see more of my classes personally, you could find me on social media at mkuzyoga, E-M-K-U-Z yoga. I offer personal classes. I sub right now at a studio, Soul Stretch Westlake, also in my Instagram profile. And I do special brewery events, bottoms up yoga. So all of that is in my social media if you're interested. Otherwise, if you get a hold of Erie Metro Parks, I'm sure you could get connected with me. Be sure to check out all of their programming as well. And I hope you guys have a relaxing, energetic, and positive day ahead. Thank you.